Hey, what's up everyone? Airball here, and today we're playing some actual factual standard. It's been a while since the format was any fun, but this is our first time coming back to it since the bans. Now, if you've been living under a rock for the last little while, there were some major bans in standard. Um, Alrund's Epiphany finally got the axe. Divide by Zero, which of course was on everyone's shortlist to be banned, is also gone. And so was Faceless Haven. And the idea was to shake up the format, which was dominated by Izzet and monocolored aggro decks. And so naturally what we're doing is we're playing an Izzet deck. Um, we're trying to see if Izzet Dragons is still as powerful now as it was before the ban of Alrund's Epiphany. So the point of this deck, essentially, the reason that we're playing it now, is that Goldspan Dragon is just a busted magic card. So in the old Alrund's Epiphany version of the Izzet Dragons deck, Goldspan Dragon was just kind of a utility card. It was a way to ramp into from turn 5 to turn 7 quickly with treasures available, and then you can just go off casting Epiphany after Epiphany after Epiphany, and kill the opponents with the dragons that are on the board before they have a chance to do anything, before you even let them untap to deal with your dragons. Now we don't have that. Now the Goldspan Dragon itself is the top end. So we're trying to get to dragons quickly and protect it now with counterspells, which previously weren't playable because we were playing a bunch of copies of this guy, Lear, Disciple of the Drowned. So we're still playing one copy, mostly because it's still such a house against the creature decks that can put an early clock on us. If this lands, then we can recur the Fading Hopes from the graveyard. We can recur the removal spells like Dragon's Fire and Abrade. It's pretty good at making sure you have the material to flip your Smoldering Egg, which is another win condition way of stabilizing that we need. And obviously we have the main combo, Saw It Coming, Foretell on turn 2, cast Goldspan Dragon. This is the unnerfed Goldspan Dragon. So you play it on turn 5, the opponent targets it with something, you get a treasure, which you can immediately crack for the 2 mana to cast your Saw It Coming, your Disdainful Strokes, your Negates, your Dwari Disruptions. So we're playing that suite of counter magic, even though we're playing one copy of Lear, just because they combo so well with Goldspan Dragon. The other main thing to notice about this version of the deck compared to the Izzet Epiphany version is that we're running 4 copies of Memory Deluge, where we used to be running Unexpected Windfall. And the idea here is that we're not actually ramping into anything anymore, so the treasures from Unexpected Windfall aren't as important. And also, Windfall is just a whole lot sadder when it doesn't resolve than Memory Deluge. If you cast Memory Deluge and your opponent counters it traditionally with Saw It Coming or Negate or something like that, you just get to cast it again later in the game. But if the opponent counters your Unexpected Windfall, then you already had to discard a card to cast a spell in the first place, and it's a pretty significant card disadvantage. So we're trying to play a more mid-rangey deck. The haste is pretty important in the deck as well. The Orzhov black-based control decks in the format are quite good with access to any number of sweepers, any number of roadblock creatures, and to rebuild your board quickly after getting swept is sort of a precondition of being able to run a mid-range deck or an aggressive deck in this format. And the Goldspan Dragon is the main tool that we have for dealing with that. Okay, so in the sideboard, we have another hasty threat to deal with that kind of situation. We have Inferno of the Star Mounts. Now that Divide by Zero is banned, this card is much, much better. There's not many ways to punish it anymore. Obviously, a 2-mana kill spell still kills it, so it's not a great exchange if you're playing against black-based control deck that's running something like Infernal Grasp. But it is a great way you can force your opponent to tap out with a board with full of Smoldering Eggs and Goldspan Dragons. They sweep your board, and then you cast Inferno, pump it for a bunch of damage, and get through to kill them. Burning Hand's great against the monocolored green decks, Cinderclasm great against the monocolored white decks, and Ray of Frost great in the mirror. Pretty good for dealing with opposing werewolf creatures and opposing Goldspan Dragons of their own. Okay, so that's the deck. Let's jump into some games and see how the deck does. Okay, on the play against the Aggro Master. No sleeves. Decent chance we are indeed up against some kind of aggro here. Dragon's Fire is going to be good against the creature decks. The counter spells are going to be good against any control. Fortunately, we're going to have to play this tapped. It is a little slow. We do need to draw 2 lands before the hand can function. But I think I'm going to keep it. I don't love it, obviously, but we have 3 2-mana interaction spells, so like even if we miss a land drop, we can kind of survive. We have 4 copies of Expressive Iteration that we're drawing to, and mulliganing on the play is just something I don't really like to do. Saw it coming, you say? So, what are they likely to play next turn? Could be like a werewolf pack leader. I don't think I'm scared of anything resolving. I suppose it could be ranger class. That would be a reason to hold up negate here. Okay, I've convinced myself. Foretelling Saw It Coming doesn't really progress our game plan all that much. Outland Liberator. So this is like a blue-green ramp deck, so our Disdainful Stroke should probably be pretty good. I think we do just have to spend our mana here. I hope we don't whiff on land. We whiff on land. Okay. Teamer. Okay. We will send that one back. Land or bust. That's not land. That's land-ish. This is going to get replayed, probably. I suppose we could be worried about an Asika's Chariot coming down next turn. Yeah. Sure. Awkward. So I suppose that does kill the, kill this thing. I think we're going to give him one more turn with it, depending on what they do. Tovolar. Tovolar is one that we don't have a great answer for. We either need to kill it or kill the slasher, and I want to cash in this slot coming, because it's just kind of rotting in our hand. Hopefully we draw untapped land. We do. That's pretty sweet. And now I think I'm down to just Dragon's Fire this thing. And now we have Disdainful Stroke, or Negate available for like an Asika's Chariot. If they have their own Goldspan Dragon, I guess we have the Stroke for that too. Alana and Alana is one that we will not tolerate. And hopefully now we get to draw untapped land. We do. Sweet. Goldspan Dragon comes down with Negate backup. That has Reach, which is irritating. We have Fading Hope. Yeah. We are going to Fading Hope the crap out of that. Don't get to Scribe, but whatever. And I think I will main phase this Memory Deluge to try to get our land drops. Smoldering Egg's pretty good too. But I don't think I'm going to turn down an Expressive Iteration when we have a Goldspan Dragon in play. The flashback of Memory Deluge also represents good card advantage. Let's put this on, I suppose, blue. And incidentally flip it today. That's pretty great. Draw Smoldering Egg anyway. That's pretty nice. Hopefully we can find another answer to Helena and Elena here. We do indeed. So I think Lear is going to come to hand. Deluge goes back. Dragon's Fire. Get in there. And we can even Lear plus Fading Hope back up, but I don't think that's necessary. Yeah, I think the worst thing that can happen to us here is like Storm the Festival. Or, I guess, the third copy of Helena and Elena. Yeah, we'll just negate that. I don't think Negate's getting much better. Yeah. Okay. So that looked like just standard rule werewolves with like some blue in the mana base, probably just for things like Disdainful Stroke, so we do need to be slightly conscious of that. So we do have, this is Arnie Hushembest's list, I should say, and his sideboard guide on Channel Fireball is extensive. So this also has a guide. We have 2 copies of Ray of Frost, 1 copy of Disdainful Stroke, a Braid, Burning Hands, of course. Although not super many, which is weird because almost everything is green. What else does he want? He wants to bring in another copy of Lear. Out come the Cinderclasms, which is a little weird. But I guess almost everything has 3 or greater toughness, so okay. Out come the Cinderclasms. The negates, yeah, they do seem pretty medium. Saw It Coming is probably a little too slow, as is Memory Deluge. Weird not to bring in more Fading Hopes, although I guess they have a lot of stuff that is not, like, super expensive. But, like, if they're playing a bunch of Helena and Elena's, I think Fading Hope is really good against them. It seems really weird not to have those. But what do I know? We'll do as Arnie says. And it seems pretty good. It's on the draw against Gruul, so nothing is going to feel great. But we have removal, we have a blocker, and we have our main game plan. So we're not sending that back. I think I'm just playing this tapped. I don't want to ever have to bolt myself in. We have a bunch of 2-drops, so getting to 4 is pretty important. Pack leader. Yeah, so what sort of removal are they likely to have in this deck? The other thing is that they're probably playing counter magic, so I kind of like just Dragons firing this on the spot, even though it won't put counters on the Smoldering Egg. Yeah, let's just kill this now. They also mulliganed. Like, if we can take out their threats and make their draw a little more awkward, then I'm all for it. Ranger class, sure. And they missed their land drop, which is kind of nice, too. Alright, so now we'll get the Smoldering Egg down. I'm gonna want... Well, I definitely want the second red for the Goldspan Dragon. Maybe I'm supposed to play blue to represent Fading Hope, but they would have known that if I was going to Fading Hope, I would have Fading Hoped on my turn to play around something like Snakeskin Veil. Shadow Skull Smashing is pretty good. So let's play Smoldering Egg and hold up Ray of Frost. Or win. Yeah, the opponent got mana screwed in that game, obviously, but I think I'll leave this one in. Because games 1 and 2, or game 1 was pretty good, and game 2 you saw just how potent our curve can really be. Okay, so that's another one in the books. Let's go on to the next one. Okay, so we are on the play here with an otherwise pretty slow hand, but we do have the 2 dragons. We do have a good chunk of the deck being early interaction. I think I'm inclined to keep this, especially not knowing what my opponent is playing. They've got the Innistrad Sleeves. Possibly we're up against some kind of aggro here. And obviously we're in the standard queue post Epiphany ban. So I think aggro is kind of likely. And if they're up against if we're up against some sort of black-red control or a black-white control, then our hand is pretty poor. But the matchup is not unwinnable because we have the 2 haste threats. Anyway, let's defer the decision on which land to play, and we'll just get the Stormcarved Coast down so that we know... And this also guarantees that we'll have blue in play next turn if we draw Fading Hope. Tangled Veil. Okay, another 5-drop is not really what we wanted to see. We know that they're playing some X1s. Shadow Skull Smashing, unlikely to be as good. I think I'm just going to play this tapped. Say go. There is some chance that we'll be able to cast this. Yeah, that's an X1. We'll keep that. Or we'll kill that, rather. It's pro... Werewolf, sure. We will bolt the bird. Memory Deluge and Lee are both pretty awkward when we don't have our second blue. So we have a handful of 4 uncastable spells, even though we've curved out to 4. It's definitely a little awkward. Island would be an excellent draw. Naked Skyclave Apparition. You got it. Braid, I suppose, is not the worst. We will not cast it yet. We'll wait and see. I'm not scared of this 2-2. Chariot is scary, but is also an abrade target. That's a little late, of course. Yeah, and our draw just has not panned out here. I think another Chariot is somewhat likely, given the way that the first few turns of the game played out. Like, playing Speculate Evaporation early suggests that they have no better early plays. Yeah. So that means they have later plays. And Saw It Coming would be good against that. And also just getting it foretold in case we can cast the Goldspan Dragon next turn is pretty compelling. We are going to war with this Goldspan Dragon here. And hopefully we'll have enough pressure, we'll have a resolved Leer, and we'll be able to kill some stuff. That's scary. So now land is going to pump all this stuff up. We're going to be taking 9. They do not have enough mana to crack that Field of Ruin, or we would be in even worse trouble. But this does not feel great. Okay, so what do we have in terms of options? It's probably going to be Leer plus a Braid. The question then is, are we going to swing with this dragon or not? The dragon will just have to trade with this 3/3 if they have a land, and we know at minimum they have the Field of Ruin to trigger landfall again. Swinging with the dragon gets them down to 12. We'll have another dragon in play next turn if we survive. Yeah, so we're definitely playing Leer. And I think it's just attack, block. Yeah, we need 2 blockers at least anyways. The dragon has to stay home. Sucks. Probably supposed to kill this. Yeah, so Leer's gonna have to jump under a bus. Goldspan Dragon, if they have another land in hand, is also gonna have to jump under a bus. Or they could just have lethal? Yeah, they could just have lethal. Okay. Pretty awkward. I mean, we almost drew our way out of it, but not being able to cast any relevant spells for the first few turns of the game. It's possible the keep was bad, but also I think our draw was uniquely bad. Like, Memory Deluge, Leer were uncastable for most of the early game, and we have a bunch of other options that we would have been able to cast had we drawn them. Okay, so up against Landfall, we have 2 copies of Burning Hands, we have a copy of Stroke, and we have Negate. And outcome, this is 1 Fading Hope. Braid, not great. No artifacts other than the Asika's Chariot, which we don't trade super well with there. Out comes a Dragon's Fire, and out comes Leer himself, which I think can get behind. They're just so good at flooding the board with crap. Yeah, okay, I'm on board with this. Mostly just tweaks. I think the point is that we're supposed to just race them with these dragons. The late game is not really ours to win anymore now that Epiphany has been banned. But they also aren't great at blocking things in the air. Smoldering Egg is a welcome sight. We'll keep this. Again, like, only having 2 lands is concerning. Like, maybe we are supposed to send this back. But we have so much early interaction. Yeah. There we go. So Prosperous Innkeeper is obviously somewhat concerning, although not terribly. So now, like, they're ramping into a 4-drop, which we should be able to hit with either Disdainful Stroke or Saw It Coming. We'll need to reason out which one we want to use. I suspect it's going to be Saw It Coming just to be mana efficient, because Disdainful Stroke will hit most things. What is this attack? I don't understand this attack. They could have, like... I don't know what they could have. I'm blocking this. There's Paulo. Paulo's another one, another good reason to use Saw It Coming here. I don't want to reveal to them that I have the Disdainful Stroke in hand. We have Goldspan Dragon, that's pretty nice. And Memory Deluge will, of course, flip the Smoldering Egg as soon as we cast it. We'll see what they do. Another Paulo is reasonably likely. If they do that, then I'm not sure. Obviously, we have to let it resolve, but I'm not sure whether to cast Memory Deluge in response to that or not. Chariot makes the decision easy for us. Sure. So we have the option here of Dragons firing the Innkeeper to flip the Smoldering Egg, which I am kind of a fan of. Yeah, I think I'm on board with this. They had something for 1 mana. Not exactly sure what. But I am exactly sure that I'm going to cast this Goldspan Dragon. Cool. Somewhat at a loss for what that could have been. For 1... I don't know. Yeah, nothing is coming to mind. It could have just been that they're holding full control or something. Okay. Okay, so on the draw, but again, we have the Smoldering Egg. We have some counter magic available. We're going to keep this. Cinderclasm is, like, interesting, right? So are we going to hold this Joy Disruption, or are we going to play it on turn 1? Given the amount of counter magic we have available to us, I think we're just going to play this tapped. So there's Innkeeper. I am, not going to lie, I am concerned about Chariot coming down next turn, although I suppose if they play Chariot, we can Cinderclasm the board the following turn. I really, really, really want to get Smoldering Egg down before we start countering stuff. And, like, we're kind of in the same boat the following turn. Like, say they play the Seeker's Chariot next turn, and we counter it. Great, we feel great about ourselves. Then what do we do the following turn? I'm going to play the Smoldering Egg. Like, we, again, wouldn't be able to play the Smoldering Egg because we would, again, have to hold up something for a 4-drop. So I think this is just the price that we're going to have to pay for being on the draw, and we'll hope that we can just kill all their kitties and survive that way. I think we are going to have to do this now, though. And if they resolve another 4-drop, we're sad. But I don't want to allow them to have tokens to animate the Chariot with, or to copy with the Chariot next turn. So I think we're in a race with their Chariot. We need to flip this Smoldering Egg with some dispatch. If they play, like, Skyclave Apparition here, of course, we're sad. But I don't think we could have played this game... Like, we could have played this game much more carefully, but I don't think we could have played this game more correctly. Another Goldspan Dragon is excellent. I think we're going to play the Spike Field Hazard tapped. Like, we could just kill the 1/1 with it, but that doesn't seem super great. We could also play Untapped Island and hold up 2 counter spells, but I don't think that's necessary. Disdainful Stroke will, if we cast it, will mean that they're effectively tapped out. So I think I want to hold up Jwari Disruption, which means we play this one tapped. And next turn, by playing a tap land this turn, we guarantee the Goldspan Dragon with counter magic backup next turn as well. Wedding Announcement seems quite slow against us, and against flipped Smoldering Egg, it looks kind of sad. So hopefully they just play a 4-drop here, and we can Jwari Disrupt it. Brutal Cathar is... okay. Yeah, that's rough, for sure. Did not expect that. But we are still going to cast our Goldspan Dragon and attack with it. They're going to be able to get in with the Chariot, but it's going to tap them out to do it, and hopefully we can just race them down. Finding an... That's just raw, right? That's just from hand. It's tough deciding which one to use here, right? Like, we can Jory Disruption because it's unlikely to get much better, but it does represent another land drop. I think we're countering this with the Jory Disruption, though. I think we've seen that Negate has some utility here, and Disdainful Stroke is also going to be reasonably good. Disdainful Stroke actually MVP in the matchup, of course. By casting that on their turn, it means this is not flipped to Knight, which is nice. It means that they won't have an answer to the Goldspan Dragon. This is going to flip. Okay. So we have 3 mana worth of a Shatter Skull Smashing to kill the Cathar, which will get us Smoldering Egg back, which I think I like a lot. I don't know, can I target the Goldspan Dragon for X equals 0? No, I can't. But I would have liked to get the extra treasure. But it is what it is. And hopefully they cast something to let us counter and flip the Smoldering Egg that much quicker, because, again, we are in a race. Negate or Stroke? I think this is Negate, pretty clearly. I think Stroke is just a strictly better Negate. I don't think Negate hits much that we care about. So they're going to swing with the Chariot. We're going to get to block one of the 2/2s. We're going to take 6. They're going to get another token. We're going to take 7, I'm sorry. Why does... Oh, because this also gets pumped by the Wedding Festivity, sure. Alright, so taking 7 is not really where we want to be, of course. Burning Hand's pretty good against the Chariot, so I think we're looking for... Ideally, we'd find like a 1-mana spell to be able to flip the Smoldering Egg. We do... So we'll have, if we take Spikefield Hazard and Burning Hands, we can attack with the Goldspan Dragon and the Smoldering Egg. Okay, this is tricky. We can also take Spikefield Hazard land and be able to cast both the Burning Hands and the Spikefield Hazard and the Stroke with the Treasure. They're going to be attacking for 10, tap, tap. I think we can survive. Yeah, I think this is the play. And let's say go. And now they'll tap down a couple of 2/2s. We'll be able to kill... We'll be able to Spikefield Hazard... Oh my god. Does that change things? It might. Alright. So I think what we're actually supposed to do here is target our Goldspan Dragon. Target the Cathar. Ping the Cathar. And this way we don't lose the dragon, and we have Burning Hands available. And we can block here. Burning Hands here. Ping here. Nice. Okay. Somehow we went to 0 there with the arena glitch, but I promise we were still alive. Okay, that felt pretty good. Okay, on the draw with a 1-lander. This is better. The putback is probably one of these lands, I would think. I don't want to put back both dragons. I think that the card is just a little too good. And putting it on the bottom is kind of sketchy. I think we're likely to draw a couple lands before we get to that point. So, we'll just play this. Expressive Iteration is exactly what the doctor ordered. We see Forest from the opponent. We may need to Dragon's Fire something. Match Vandal. That's weird. I'm gonna say go. That's not something I'm scared enough of to Dragon's Fire. Okay, this is like some Abzan stuff. I am not casting Dragon's Fire here. I am deeply concerned. I don't know what opponent is doing. This feels like some sort of a mill deck. I don't know. Yeah, I don't know. Reanimator. We are off the map. I don't think I want to take the shields down to cast Expressive Iteration. So here I will, because we'll be able to hold up Negate. Deluge seems to play pretty nicely with Dragon. I think that's the one I want to take to hand, rather than another Expressive Iteration, especially when we're bottlenecked on red. In fact, we're not going to be able to cast the Goldspan Dragon next turn. We won't have the red mana to do it. It's a little surprising. I may regret putting that Shadow Skull Smashing back on the bottom. But again, opponent isn't putting that much pressure on us. So maybe we'll get away with this. Yeah, Lolth, we're not going to allow to resolve. Untap red? Tap red. Okay. We'll play that tapped, guarantee the Goldspan Dragon next turn. Hopefully the opponent doesn't give us anything that we need to Dragon's Fire immediately this turn. And we'll be able to cast Memory Deluge. It feels like the Storm the Festival is a possibility. Yeah, we're going to take these. Play the Goldspan Dragon. I may play the Spikefield Hazard tapped. We will see. Goldspan Dragon lives to tell the tale. Goldspan Dragon being targeted with our own Spikefield Hazard represents 1 mana worth of ramp. I don't think that's worth it. I think we're just going to play this tapped. This Mass Vandal is going to go coast to coast. Yeah, Storm of the Festival indeed. So this could hurt. Instead, they hit Larab Hydra, Prosperous Keeper. Yeah, you got it. Alrighty then. Let's get another Goldspan Dragon in play. Swing. 2-turn clock. Bunch of mana. And depending on what they do next turn, we'll have, we can dig for what we need with Memory Deluge. It seems likely the next play is going to be Storm the Festival. They have 5, 10 mana. The post-combat Storm the Festival seems probably wrong, but what do I know? Like, their deck just might not have anything important to put in play pre-combat. Meathook Massacre for X equals 4. I think this is fine. We have another Goldspan Dragon coming down next turn, so I think I do want to keep the treasures around. And there is some chance that we just find negate here and win. Slot coming's pretty good too. Yeah, so I think I want Deluge slot coming. I'll counter this, and if they have some sort of kill spell for one gold span dragon, then we have another one to come down for lethal next turn. Okay. Cool, so we are once again off the map. Weird matchup. Haven't seen many Storm the Festival lists in the new standard, although of course it is a powerful card. Despite Arnie's sideboard guide being pretty comprehensive, it's not did not account for Storm the Festival, so we're on our own here. Stroke seems pretty good. I think as long as Storm the Festival doesn't resolve, then I think we're in pretty excellent shape, which means I want to pivot to being a more instant speed kind of gamer. Negate, of course, is what we want. Don't think I really want Burning Hands. We did see Lolth. It feels like Lobster is a likely candidate for targeted removal, although, I mean, like, they can't play too much targeted removal because it dilutes their Storm the Festival too much. More card draw, I think, is welcome. I think I don't want these Cinderclasms. I think a Braid is a little much. We have these Dragon's Fires to deal with most of the things that they could, that they can throw at us, and I think Fading Hope is also just kind of mopey. And if Fading Hope is coming out, then it's possible that Lear is also supposed to come out. And all of a sudden, like, I'm a little more skeptical of our choices. Yeah, this feels like this feels misguided. But I'm not really sure. So I think now I want to choose either between Inferno and Hullbreaker Horror. Hullbreaker Horror is not great now that we've boarded out the Fading Hopes. I think I'm going to bring in the Inferno. Nah. No, I said I want to play it at instant speed. Let's play it instant speed. We'll bring in the Lobster, and even if they kill it, then it's not the end of the world. It's a must-answer threat on their side, and it lets us hold up our counter magic. So I like the flash threat, even if it's expensive. Okay. Okay, so one lander once again. We'll send that one home. I think this is keepable. I'm not sure exactly what to get rid of. I think it's probably Dragon's Fire, because this gives us a pretty reasonable curve. Smoldering Egg on 2, Expressive Iteration on 3, into something on 4, and then the Goldspan Dragon to come down and clean up. So as 6-card hands go, this is a pretty good one. Obviously, we are sad if opponent duresses us. Yeah, we'll play this tapped. Next turn, the Hall will be played, unless they have some sort of Thought Erasure kind of effect to take away the Smoldering Egg. Seems likely Smoldering Egg's about to die here, but I'm certainly not holding it in hand. I'm going to make them do their thing. No, they've got nothing. Alright. Dreadfugue reveals their hand for the full Monty of the cleave cost, so they can take whatever they want. What do you want, opponent? Our hand is pretty redundant. I suppose you probably take the dragon here. Yep. We will lead with Expressive Iteration. I definitely want this Stroke. Yeah, so Stroke to hand, and we're going to play the Dwyer Disruption tap this turn. And if we untap, then we're feeling like we're in great shape. We do untap. Okay. Expressive Iteration again. This time we will play untapped land to hold up Disdainful Stroke. Lair of the Hydra came in, tapped there. It could be that they just didn't have the untapped land they needed to cast their 4-drop. We could have gotten very lucky. Yeah, so we're going to take Negate to hand. And I think we're going to shock in the Smashing. I do want to keep the card advantage game going. And it's your go. So with Stroke and Negate, obviously I feel pretty good. This Smoldering Egg is bound to flip. Yeah, so we'll let Duress resolve here. They can take one of our counter spells, but not both, which means they can't force through a 4-drop. If we tapped out to counter Duress there, then we leave the door open for something like a Asika's Chariot, which is not something that I particularly want to mess with right now. They take Expressive Iteration, which is interesting. Yeah, that is interesting. Because they know they need to fight through this wall of counter magic at some point. Could be they have multiple discard spells, but if that were true, they probably would have played one last turn, like on top of the Duress. So I'm not really sure what the opponent has here. Even this Lair is going to have issues getting in eventually. Like, I think we're going to win this race, honestly. And I think I'm inclined to use the Spikefield Hazard to go face. It makes most of our 2-drop... It makes any of our 2-drops off the top flip the egg. And it makes any counterspell flip the egg, and that's excellent. Okay, we love this. This is exactly what we were playing for by going upstairs there. Dragon's Fire, Jwari Disruption. So I think the Jwari Disruption comes to hand, right? Next turn is their Storm the Festival turn. So I like that. We'll take the Jwari Disruption to hand. I don't really want to play the Spikefield Hazard. Tapped. So I think... And I don't want to draw it again later, right? Dragon's Fire also just seems really mopey, but it does hit a Planeswalker. If they ever somehow resolve a wall... This is a very minor thing. Which one goes back into our library? We're not unlikely to ever draw it. But we'll play our island. We'll take our 4 damage to face. And we'll be happy knowing that we have 3 counterspells for Storm the Festival, should they play it. So they can suit up the Lair and get in for X equals 5. If that takes their whole turn, I think we're pretty happy with that. Yeah, this is fine. Yeah, we're not afraid. If they do it again, we can power up the hall and block. Alright, so they power up the Menacer, so we can't block it with the hall. We can threaten lethal. By attacking with the hall next turn. Which is interesting. If we do that, then... Okay. I know they can pay, but I want to be able to go upstairs with this and shorten the clock. Okay. So now they can attack us for 4 next turn. So if we attack with the Hall, they need to chump with the Vandal, and that's fine. They go to 5. They crack back for lethal, so that's not acceptable. If we power up the Hall here, we do have a counter spell available. Yeah, so we're gonna attack here. I don't think we have fear. They can power up the Hive again if they like. They're still only attacking for 4 in that case. And at minimum, we can block the Vandal, so I think this is fine. And then we have double counterspell rolled up to try to force through the last few points of damage with the dragon. We could lose this. It's not inconceivable, but one would need to have a particular set of cards. Okay, so that has Menace, but It's not lethal yet. Yeah, so we can power up the hall and block. Trying to figure out what the safest thing to do here is. If they have a pump spell of some kind, like they could have double Snakeskin Veil. If they do, yeah, I think that's enough for me to want to do this. This is the safest thing. Because they can't target this and pay the ward. I guess double Snakeskin Veil doesn't save me here, because they can just target instead. Lotus Cobra is not good enough. Yeah, I mean, well, it's definitely making a game of it. So now we are kind of dead, right? Like, we have to hold back now. They power up the They power up the Hive. Attack, we double block. They get through with the Cobra. Yeah, this is sick. We just flooded out and died. They're dead to any spell and we just don't have one. And now they know they have us too, because we would just, if we had anything at instant speed, we would just do it now. Yeah, good game. That really sucks. But what are you gonna do? Okay. I still think our sideboarding is probably fine. It's possible that, like, given these creature lands, we are supposed to... And they have a bunch of, like, little crappy creatures. I think we're supposed to have Cinderglasm in here now, in retrospect. I don't know that we want the full Monty of them. And the Fading Hope, I think, is probably okay. Oh, this Cobra's weird. I don't think I want the Lobster anymore. Leer is pretty bad when we're trying to counter their big stuff, so maybe we do want to... Maybe we don't want to bring that in. And I guess that means we take out... some amount of card draw. I think I would rather have Behold than Deluge. I also just think we could have, like, drawn our Dragon's Fires at some point in that game and been fine. Fading Hope does seem pretty medium. Yeah, let's cut the Fading Hopes. Especially if we're not going to have Leer because we want to have the counter magic available. Let's cut the Fading Hopes and just bring in the extra Cinderclasms. This seems fine to me. Okay. This on the play is quite good. We'll keep this. Get our tap land out of the way. Double negate, pretty good against them, of course. Test of Talents, also outstanding. We'll play the blue land now. Having the blue mana in play could be relevant for, like, bluff side coming or something. Infernal Grasp, killing. Smoldering Egg is unfortunate. Dread Fugue. I think I'm going to Test of Talents this. I want to see what's in their hand. And even though Test of Talents is a great answer to Storm the Festival, it doesn't hit this. It doesn't hit their Planeswalkers. So I like having the negates. Get this out of their deck. Let's have a look at their deck. It is Storm the Festival, a bunch of Wrens, Asika's Chariots, 4 copies of Binding, and a Partridge and a Pear Tree. Okay. We do want to find, well, not that. So we know they're extremely likely to just jam Sorin next turn. So we know Dry Disruption will trade profitably with that. It does mean that we're more likely to miss our land drop. If we find Goldspan Dragon, then we'll be sad that we played it. But trading this Dry Disruption for one of their premium cards, I think, is fine. Obviously, they could play around it, but I doubt it. Yeah, they just kind of have to go for this. That's pretty good. It at least solves our land problem. So presumably here they jam Lolth. And we counter it. And we do need to find a dragon with some urgency here. Memory Deluge can help. Yeah, I think I want to do it now so that we can find untapped land to hold up the negate. Interesting. We could take Smoldering Egg to represent a clock, or we can take Disdainful Stroke to counter another one of their things. We know that we're getting somewhat close to finding the Goldspan Dragon. We also have the Hall getting ready to attack. Also, putting these Disdainful Strokes at the bottom means that we're unlikely to find more of our counter magic later. I think I'm going to take the Stroke. That could be wrong. But I feel like all of their stuff that we super care about is big. And we know they have this Infernal Grasp to deal with the Smoldering Egg anyway, yeah. Okay. So if they don't do anything, we'll get to flashback the Deluge on end step now, which is pretty great. If they do something, then we'll get to counter it. Okay, so this is going to be negated. Goldspan Dragon. Great. So play this, and I actually should have Disdainful Stroked that so that I can protect the Goldspan Dragon with... I could have protected the Goldspan Dragon with it. But I don't think there's anything for it. I mean, we can just say go, right? If we say go and we have to counter something, then we're very sad. Because we won't be able to cast the Memory Deluge. Yeah, okay, we'll play the Goldspan Dragon, make some progress here. We have to deal with this at some point. They let us attack. That's wild. Okay. Binding. I think binding is okay. Because we'll be able to attack with the Hall and hold up counter magic. Like, if we stroke this, then we know that the Goldspan Dragon is going to get killed with Infernal Grasp. I think this is fine. I'll just let it go. Hopefully we can draw, like, untapped land here. Or just that. That's pretty good, too, realistically. So let's cast this main phase, see if we can hit our land drop. Another Goldspan Dragon's nice to see. Expressive Iteration's also pretty good. Yeah, realistically, it's probably Goldspan Dragon plus Iteration, right? Like, we could take a land drop here. But which one do we pass up on? Like, I think we want both of these things. And we'll just say go. Now, if they have, like, you know, Duress Storm the Festival, then we're sad. But I think this is fine. Another Memory Deluge is nice. I think we start with an Iteration to see if we can find a counterspell to protect the dragon. Draw Disruption is not really what we had in mind. I think, we'll put the Behold to hand, put the Jwari Disruption back, and exile the island and play it. And how much mana do we have? We have 6-7 mana. Play the Goldspan Dragon, they kill it. We'll have... Yeah, I think we just foretell the Behold and go a little slower here. I think we can be patient. And I don't want to give them an opportunity to use the mana when they want to. So this is This is just a tutor for whatever they like here. Okay. Nothing I'm really worried about at instant speed out of them. I think rather than cast Behold, I'm just going to cast this Deluge from hand. Use our mana. Negate's great. Goldspan Dragon's great. Land's great. So we'll play the dragon. We'll play another dragon, honestly, but I don't think so. Get another treasure. Okay, so they have another binding in hand, I guess is the story they're telling me. But yeah, you got it. Like, we know they fetched something. It's got to be Storm the Festival, right? This is fine with me. We'll let this go. We have another dragon in hand. And they're just letting us go. This is fine. Yeah, I think I want both of these, honestly. We'll start with Iteration. Yeah, we will take that. That's pretty good. We have more mana than we know what to do with at this point, so now we will just cast Goldspan Dragon. Swing out, and it's very difficult to imagine them getting out of the spot. They refuse. They absolutely refuse to target the Goldspan Dragon with Infernal Grasp, which means they probably have another binding in hand, which would be consistent with what they've been telling me. Can we afford to foretell this slot coming? Do we even need to? I don't think there's any need. We'll just hold up 3 counter spells here. And now I think we're going to fight. So we'll lead with Stroke. Because they must deal with this dragon, because we're going to be attacking with the Lethal Haul. And I want to hold Negate to be able to counter this Infernal Grasp that we know they have. We made that mistake earlier in the game. Not going to make it again. We get to untap. Seems great. So we power this up. How much mana do we have? We have 11, 16. This costs effectively 7, so we'll have 9 mana left, which is enough for 2 counter spells. And they'll need to pay the ward to deal with this. So, pretty sure we got them. I guess there could be some flash creature to jump in front of the hall. Alright, we'll make them pay the ward. And negate. And we got him. Okay. Great game. Definitely felt like an excellent matchup, but opponent played well to their outs in games in game 2. But definitely any blue deck is going to cause these Storm the Festival decks significant problems, especially post-board. Okay. So that is the deck. I'm very happy with how this video went. I hope you guys liked it too. Let me know if you guys want to see more standard content or alchemy or historic. I'm not really sure what direction to take this channel in. It's more just whatever I want to play on any given day. And I was interested to see how standard was doing. I will say that most people didn't seem to be playing standard. The queue times were very long, like a minute to get a match, which on arena is quite bad. So maybe I'm supposed to play more historic, but yeah, that's what I'm asking you. Let me know in the comments below what you think. And any other feedback as well. I'm open to hearing that as well. So yeah, like, subscribe, all that other YouTube stuff, and I will see you guys in the next one. Thanks for sticking around.